What's up, Star Wars fans? Today, I want to share with you some predictions for the Ahsoka series. If you watch this channel regularly, you know that I've done a ton of videos predicting what is coming in this series, and I thought it was time to ask you, the community, what you thought was coming in this series, and as always, you came up with some fantastic predictions. So let's get right into the first comment here from Donna. She states, maybe Mando will show up and bring Grogu to help Ahsoka locate Ezra via the Force. And absolutely, Donna, this is something that could happen. Seeing Mando and Grogu in the Ahsoka series, I think that's almost a guarantee. And certainly on this channel, I have created several videos where Ahsoka could use the Force to help her find Ezra Bridger. I mean, there's the Seeing Stone on Tython that we were introduced to in Season 2 of The Mandalorian. Is there some way that Grogu and Ahsoka could use that, maybe even with the help of Luke Skywalker, to track down Ezra Bridger? But hey, thanks for that, Donna. Let's move on now to JetBlast190. He states on the community tab, two things we know from the sequel trilogy. There's no evidence of any involvement by Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine, and there's no evidence of a Mandalorian presence in the fight against either the First Order or the Final Order. This might be because they were engaged in a conflict elsewhere in the galaxy, one that Palpatine was willing to turn his focus away from because he knew his former trusted ally Thrawn had the conflict well in hand. I believe the Mandoverse could be leading our heroes into a war in the unknown regions that coexisted outside of the main Skywalker timeline. It's a long shot perhaps, but there it is. And as always, JetBlast190, that is some solid speculation. I really like the idea that the Mandalorian, Sabine, Ezra, Ahsoka are all alive during the timeline of the sequel trilogy, but they were just busy elsewhere. That said, that would have to be a conflict that would have to last for a very long time, as The Mandalorian takes place about 5 years after the original trilogy, a good 20 to 25 years before the sequel trilogy. And I'm not saying that it couldn't happen, I'm just saying because of the timeline, it's definitely a little more of a long shot. But hey, thanks for that comment, Rich. Really appreciate it as always. Let's move on now to Jay Mikowski. He left some great speculation on the community tab, and he states, I think when Thrawn and Ezra were sent into the unknown regions, they were left stranded on an uninhabited planet. They would have worked together originally, but when Thrawn finds a way off the planet, he escapes, leaving Ezra behind. I believe Ahsoka and Sabine will find Ezra on this planet when he has full control of his special concentration with creatures through the Force. So the creatures of the planet will gather to him as some sort of sanctuary. And that's some really cool speculation there, Jay. Certainly if Ezra does master his connection to creatures, such as the Purrgil, he may even be able to contact Sabine or Ahsoka through these animals, especially if he comes across animals with a strong connection to the Force, similar to the wolves we see on Lothal during Star Wars Rebels. But hey, thanks for that comment, Jay. Always appreciate your thoughts. Let's move on now to J-Dog. He states on the community tab, I highly doubt that we're going to venture into the unknown regions. I think after the sequel trilogy, they learned a lesson regarding introducing too much stuff. I think that it will either be a secret place with a secret hyperspace route like Larazon, or just a remote planet that we have yet to see. And absolutely, I have to agree with you here, J-Dog. I don't think we're going to be headed to the unknown regions at this point. I think there's a very good chance that Thrawn is holding Ezra as a prisoner in the known galaxy. I've done a couple videos on that, and I'll link them in the cards. That said, I think there is still a very good chance that Thrawn is going to be dealing with the Grisk in the unknown regions, that Thrawn's people, the Chiss, are going to be in an all-out war versus the Grisk, an invading alien species that was set up in the Thrawn novels by Timothy Zahn, and that Thrawn has a great chance to be a very compelling villain because what he is doing in the Star Wars known galaxy is no doubt all going to be to help his people back in the unknown regions defeat the Grisk. But I think I'll talk more about that in an upcoming video. But hey, thanks for that speculation, J-Jog. Let's move on now to the Medieval Man 9. He stated on the community tab, I think we're going to be thrown for a loop with this series. And the reason for this is one single simple reason, and that is Dave Filoni. I think Ahsoka and Sabine are going to find Ezra in the known galaxy, but they're not going to find him until the very end of the series, and then they're going to have to chase him down when he runs and enters the unknown regions. And certainly Medieval Man 9, it makes a lot of sense that we're not going to get Ezra Bridger until later in this series, but I do always come back to the idea that if they are casting somebody like Mena Massoud, then Ezra Bridger will have some sort of substantial role in the last few episodes, or maybe in a second season of the series. I mean, wouldn't it be interesting if Ezra actually ends up getting his own series at some point? I certainly think that Mena Massoud has the acting chops to make that happen, but ultimately I think it'll be down to how well that character is received in live action, as well as how the Ahsoka series does overall. But hey, thanks for that comment, Medieval Man 9. Let's get back to the community tab, where Nate has left us a great comment as well. They state Ezra was always teetering on the dark side. I think it's possible Thrawn has manipulated him into helping the Chiss, and within that plan is retaking the Empire while also taking over territory like we saw in the Ahsoka Mando episode. Ezra could think whatever he is doing is for the good of the galaxy, or whatever Ahsoka could try to stop him, and this would bring him into conflict with Ahsoka and Sabine. Then she realizes he is too into Thrawn's plan, and this is when she goes to recruit Sabine. If she talked to Luke and knows Vader was redeemed because of him, she may think Sabine is the key to bringing back Ezra to the light side. And that's some great speculation, Nate. Seeing a dark side Ezra in the Ahsoka series is definitely something I've theorized a lot about as well. On one hand, I don't like the idea of Ezra falling to the dark side yet again, because we saw that in Star Wars Rebels, and I'd like to think that he's moved beyond it. However, on the flip side, I think he would make a very compelling villain, and it does make sense that now that he's away from his family, Kanan, Hera, Sabine, and Zeb, that he would find himself more likely to fall back into the dark side. That his adopted space family were there to ground him in the light side, and in their absence, he falls back into the dark side. I think that certainly could be a compelling story if in the end he is redeemed. But thanks for that comment, Nate. Let's get back to the community tab, where we got Luke Keller. They state, I want this series so bad. I can't wait to see Ezra and Sabine back together again. Hopefully they end up together. And certainly, Luke, one of the ways I think they could end up together is if Sabine does help redeem Ezra by expressing her love for him, but I fear that that is something that may not happen because it would take a long time to develop that story and may not make a whole lot of sense to those people who haven't watched Star Wars Rebels. But hey, could we see Ezra Bean in some other way? I think there is a fairly good shot at that, but remember, Dave Filoni has stuck to the point that Ezra and Sabine are just friends. Not to mention, Filoni would be taking a bit of a risk to create this relationship because it really comes down to Mena Massoud and Natasha Liu Bordizzo and whether or not they have any on-screen chemistry. That said, I want to thank everyone who left a comment on the community tab. I appreciate all the support and your willingness to share your speculation with me. As always, I'm Mike, and remember, the Force will be with you always.